Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Marissa. This is Selfcareriss, and I am a licensed professional counselor who loves all things self-care, and I like to share my knowledge and show my lifestyle around mental health. Today, I'm going to be exposing myself. I can imagine that people don't think that counselors or therapists are like regular people or that they mess up, because we for sure do. Do you guys remember that one scene from Mean Girls when she was like, oh, seeing a teacher outside of school is like seeing a dog walk on like its hind legs? That's how I feel like it's like for counselors too, because I mean, you only see us typically like in a very controlled environment. We have to be in a certain presentation, and a lot of times if you haven't built that rapport yet with your counselor, it can be almost, it is very stranger-like. I for sure am not my full self when I see my clients, because I just want to make sure I'm getting that rapport, I'm seeing what they need. But by the time we start getting comfortable with each other, you know, 5-6 sessions into it, I start coming out. You actually start seeing my personality. The client probably starts realizing that the person across from him is actually another person too, not just like this person who is just their sole purpose is a therapist and that's it. I think I mentioned this in another video. I also go to therapy, and it took me a minute to realize like, oh, Miss Bridget, she's actually a person too. One of the goals of my channel is to show that I am human and also a therapist. Those things they intersect. What better way to show that than showing my bad habits? And so that's why I said I'm going to be exposing myself today. The things that you think that your therapist is on top of, think again, because I know I am always a work in progress. I am not perfect. I mentioned this plenty of times before, even though my mind tells me I should be sometimes. Even though my mind tells me at times I should be, that's very unrealistic. And we're gonna get into all that today. So these don't necessarily connect directly to counseling, like me being negligent as a counselor. No, these are things that I tell my clients to be better at, and I help them with that, knowing dang well I also need to be better at it too. So okay guys, let's get into these bad habits. Okay guys, so like I said earlier, the purpose of this video is to show that even your therapist messes up and has things to be working on. And so if you think that your therapist is this perfect person, so give yourself permission to not be this perfect person either if the person that you think is perfect is not. So let's get into the first one. My first bad habit is I can be very messy. I won't say that I don't like cleaning. I don't like the energy that cleaning takes. When I do clean and I set time aside to clean, it feels good. Like I'm like, okay, I'm getting everything back in order. I'm cleaning up my space. I'm really working on that environmental wellness, right? But whenever I walk through my space, I think I mentioned this in my night routine, I'm like a tornado. I have such a bad habit in not putting stuff away as I'm going through my place. So for example, I'll walk through my kitchen, I'll make all the food I want to make, leave everything out. Don't put it back, or at least I'll put like half of it back. The parts that like actually need to be put away. Or I'll go through my clothes. Oh, my clothes? My clothes are they're a whole situation in itself. My clothes, there would be like 6 piles of clothes around my place. One by the laundry, one in the closet, one in the bedroom, a shirt that I flew off when I was running inside late or something in the living room. Like, I have an issue with putting stuff away. Why this is a bad habit is because when I get through the whole week, not only do I have to clean up the things that I just like recently like got messy on, but I have to do like the entire week of it. And that is like too much. I talked about this plenty of times before, and honestly, it's a symptom of anxiety that I see in a lot of people and in myself, is like that all or nothing thinking is not very good for me or for a lot of people. I put so much on my plate that when I finally get to it, then at the end of the week, I really don't want to get it done because I just have all of it. And so rather than doing it in parts, as I should be doing, it really makes it harder for myself to be more clean and not as messy. I'm working way harder than I need to be, and it's not working smarter. So if you're also like this, what I try to do, and of course it's still a habit of mine that I don't do this, but I try to break these down in small sections so I don't overwhelm myself. I think I showed in a night routine video, which I'm still kind of bad at doing, I whip by the days of what I have to get done, like cleaning up the shoes by the staircase, or doing at least one load of laundry. Like very small stuff so it seems attainable and not like that all or nothing thinking where, you know, it's all of it and you have to get it done by Sunday, because that's my current routine and it's not really helping me. Number 2 on this list, this kind of relates to number 1 of being messy, and this is procrastination. Now, I won't say that I'm the biggest procrastinator in the world. I'm actually pretty determined. I think that's a big strength of mine. When it becomes a bad habit is when I don't have a good balance of it. I'll connect this with another bad habit that I have later on in this video, but when procrastination becomes a bad thing is when, again, it's very unbalanced. Sometimes even deadlines can't influence me or engage me enough to get it done. And I don't know if it's very depressive-like, it's very anxiety-like for sure. There's a point in my life where I experienced pretty moderate depression, and it reminds me of when I was in that space before. Like, I don't want to do anything. It's like the very like stereotypical, I don't want to get out of bed. Everything seems very just hard to do, even the simple tasks. Like, it's when I get in those spaces that procrastination becomes a thing. And it's like, I know if I do this, and this is probably a lot of these, I know if I do this, I'll feel a lot better, but I don't want to do it. I just do not want to do it. So what I find myself procrastinating in the most is, like I said earlier, doing my laundry and me. We're about to tussle me and laundry. Cleaning out my car. That is another thing that I procrastinate on. Getting my mail, for some reason, my body does not want to get my mail. I don't know if it's an anxious thought, like I have to deal with it, but like I don't remember the last time I got my mail. Sometimes even doing my notes, I procrastinate on just because it's not even like it's a very hard task. It's just the mental energy that my brain is telling myself that it will take to do it overrides me actually doing it. I hope you guys understand that. If I feel like if you know, you know. That is my second bad habit, procrastination. I'll just be walking by things I know I need to get done and be like, okay, we're gonna keep going. Like, what is that? No. My third one, keeping up on routines. This is a bad habit of mine and the ways I need it the most. As you guys have seen in my like get ready with me videos and like my week of outfits and my workout routines, like I am typically a pretty routine person. Like I think that's also a strength of mine. It's a bad habit for certain things in my life that like I just can't get out of a rut in. And so some of those things are like as of recently, because it hasn't always been like this. Like washing my face, I said that in my night routine video. Like for some reason, me and washing my face at night, I'm mentally checked out. It's not becoming a thing. Even brushing my teeth sometimes at night, I have a hard time doing it. I'll just brush them in the morning. And we all know like how sleep is like recovery time. It's like your body's like putting itself back together. Your body's like restoring. And so that's another bad habit, is not brushing my teeth before I go to bed. Another routine that I just have a hard time with getting done is like going back to cleaning. My cleaning routine, I cannot get that established. And I think it's a lot of times it's like because in those routines, I make it jam-packed rather than taking it a small amount at a time, which as you see, there's a theme here with my bad habits. And I think it falls sometimes very low on my priority list, even though by the sounds of it, it probably shouldn't, especially like my skin and teeth health. This is also a bad habit for you. Like I said, try and break those things down as small as possible so it can feel like you're still doing something, but maybe you're not asking yourself to just do like everything all at once. I said this in my workout video from this past Sunday, find something that works for you. A routine is probably not gonna stick if you're forcing yourself to do it and you don't even like it, right? So find something that works for you, you're doing, how you're doing it. We don't all have that same perfect recipe, and it doesn't have to be set in stone either. You are allowed to change it over time. A lot of my routines today look very different from what it looked like 5, 8, 10 years ago. Do some exploring, do some research on what works best for you. My fourth one, this kind of coincides with all my last 3, is doing too many things at once. This is something I tell my therapist actually a lot of times and other people. I don't have ADHD. I've never been tested. I've never been diagnosed with it. But me being a therapist, obviously I know the symptoms for ADHD. And I know I have a lot of tendencies. You can have a lot of tendencies of something without being diagnosed, right? I'm not encouraging you to self-diagnose yourself, especially if you aren't a clinician or a therapist. No one want to know about ADHD. I see myself showing up in a lot of those symptoms. And so one of those things is like that scatterbrain, which also can be related very much to anxiety, which I for sure have. Doing multiple things at once, doing a lot at once, and in my brain, it feels efficient. For example, I'll go to the kitchen and I'm doing my dishes, and then by my dishes, I'll see like a lipstick left out. And I'm like, oh, that lipstick's left out. Let me go put it in my room really fast. Then when I'm in my room, I see another dish. So I'm like, oh crap, I was just doing the dishes. Let me go back and finish the dishes. But then on my way to finish the dishes, I see my coat was left out. So I'm like, oh, while I'm walking by, let me just run it by the closet really fast and put it in the closet. And then I'm like, oh crap, I still have this dish in my hand. I was doing my dishes. So like, that is a never ending process for me. And honestly, as I'm thinking about it now, it's probably why I get so bad at cleaning and why my place gets so messy, is because in my brain, I think that's the most efficient way of working, but really I'm just creating even more of a mess. And it takes even longer to get those things done. That doesn't just show up with me cleaning, that shows up with me doing notes. I'll be like doing my note, then I look over, I'm like, oh, I forgot to close out these tabs. So I go close out the tabs and I'm like, oh, let me talk to my coworkers. And I go back to do my notes and I'm like, crap, I didn't get this note done now. Like, it shows up in a lot of areas in my life. Even comes out when I'm doing my videos. Like, of course, you guys don't see this because I cut it out, but I'll be talking about something, then I go on a tangent, then I'm like, okay, I gotta go back to what I was originally talking about. And I'll literally tell myself like, slow down. We'll get to that, let's finish this first thought. Of course, why this is a bad habit is like, things actually don't efficiently get done when you do that. You don't get to actually finish something. You're doing a little bit at once, and not in a way that is a good way. You have a lot of loose ends. And on top of that, when I start thinking about it too hard, I get even more overwhelmed because I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't gotten nothing done, not one thing done in this day, because I started doing 6 things at once. I have a lot of loose ends open, like I don't feel accomplished at all. Even though I spent so much energy doing so much things today, like I can't identify one thing that I got done. If you're also a person who does this, I like to walk myself through that out loud of like, okay, let's slow down. Let's focus. Like if I'm cleaning, for example, let's just focus on the dining area. You're not allowed to move away from the dining area until you get it done. Then you can go to the kitchen and do that. I still slip up. There's still times where like I'll be doing that and I see like that one thing, I'm like, oh, I just need to put this away because I know I'll forget. I go do that and come right straight back. So walking yourself through that, slowing down yourself, slowing down your brain. My friends and coworkers have also told me to create a to-do list every single morning or every single night. And that's something I really do want to do, but I have not been on top of it. And so that might be another thing that could really help you. And that list is so small. It's not like 10 things you're gonna get done this day. It's like your top 3. You're not allowed to move to the second one until you get to the first one. That would be really helpful if that is also a bad habit of yours. My 5th and probably the bad habit that I've had for the longest, and the one that is very hard to break, is allowing myself to get rest. If you saw my Ask Your theraSIS video, and one of the questions was asking my coworkers, what's something you see in Black women that is hard for other people to see? Like something that you only see in a clinical space. And they answered being that superwoman, that superhero person of like, you can do it all and save everyone and be there for everyone and be that person that people go to. I have that too. And I asked them like, do you see yourself showing up when people talk about this? And I was like, me too. Me too. It has always been a tendency of mine, and be just from a conglomeration of a lot of things in my life, from being an athlete, from just being a Black woman, for being a student in grad school and like valuing being a student, or trying to hold on to like that good kid mentality growing up. Like there's a lot of things that I think contribute to that mentality of why it's hard to get rest. And then like adjacent to that is having a hard time asking for help. But we'll get to that in a different video, maybe in a part 2. But for the rest part, what it looks like for me is my mind is always thinking about the next thing. I finally do get that rest. I'm like, okay, well, what do I have to do today? What do I have to plan? What's going on? And a lot of that could be just anxiety. That could also be contributing to it. But I can never just allow my brain to like receive. I always have to be doing something even if I'm not doing something. And it's really hard to break that mindset. This becomes a bad habit because when you finally get that rest, you don't know how to hold that space for you. It feels very unnatural. And a lot of times if you don't slow down, one, you'll break, whether physically, emotionally, spiritually, like it'll come out some way or shape or form. You just won't have control over it. Another thing that could happen is all the emotions that you are putting off while you were doing all the tasks that you were doing finally comes in when you're resting, and it feels very intense. And I've heard this a lot of times with my clients. And so it makes them not want to rest in the future because they know that could potentially happen. And so it's like this vicious cycle of, okay, I'm gonna rest, but rest feels uncomfortable and too much. And so I'm gonna go do, but that also feels uncomfortable and too much. So I'm gonna rest. And then we keep going in this endless cycle. For me, when I rest, it's not necessarily like all those emotions come up for me, or, you know, I don't like to be in that space. For me, it's, I do too much. And so when I'm resting, I have a hard time not trying to do more things. And so that's a work in progress. That's always a work in progress. I have to be very, very mindful of when I'm getting rest and tell myself to like cut that out, because it takes a toll on you. I crash and burn sometimes because I don't get that mental rest to myself. And so that's why if you see in my morning routine, very first Life as a Therapist video, my morning routine needs to have that time for rest, because at nighttime, I'm already thinking about what I'm getting done for the next day. And then by that time it comes around where I do rest, I want to go to sleep. It really gets a good start to my day if I have like that 30 minutes to an hour of just resting and like just being on TikTok, watching TV, eating, and that's all I have to do in that moment. So if this is a bad habit for you, I encourage you to do something like that too. Figure out what's gonna make you feel at rest the most. And even if it does feel uncomfortable, take it in doses as well. You don't have to jump into an hour of rest like I do if it feels like that's too much, or you just don't even have the time to do that, because some people just don't. People have kids, people have like extensive, busy lives. Like they don't have just an hour to themselves, but I bet you do have 5 minutes to yourself. It's better if you take control of that time rather than take control of you. Just keep that in mind. Okay, everyone, I hope you enjoyed exploring them and sharing them with you today. Like I said, I'm not a perfect person, and there's so many other bad habits that I'm continuously working on. And honestly, that word bad, that word is the easiest to use right now, but like that has also such a negative connotation. Maybe a word like unhealthy habits or habits I need to work on is a better usage of that. Why I'm not liking the word bad is like, because you are not a bad person if you do this at all. Remember that. We all have our things we are continuously working on. We are not perfect. It's an impossible reach for us to be perfect and not have anything that we're never working on. Let me know what your bad or unhealthy habits are in the comments. I love to know them. I'll probably relate to them a lot. Let me know if you relate to any of mine. But I will see you guys this Sunday. I'm thinking I'm gonna do another reaction video. If so, please send me therapy horror stories, or let me know where I can find some good ones to react to, because I really enjoy making those videos. And so that's what I'm thinking I'm gonna do Sunday. Okay, I will see you guys on Sunday. I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you later. Bye.